2012, TNA debuted an all-new concept called TNA Gut Check, where a member of the indie scene, whoever they would bring in, whoever was popular, whatever, would go against a member of the TNA roster, say Douglas Williams or Tara if you're a knockout, and then fight for a chance to compete on the TNA roster to get a contract with TNA Wrestling. Now, this went on at the open fight nights, and the following week, they would have judges in the form of Taz, and at one point Ric Flair, and then Al Snow, I believe, too, and then that other guy, or Bruce Pritchard, I believe. They would go against them to get a contract. They would cut a promo if they didn't get a chance, the yes and no thing. I think you get the whole deal here. So by that point, the first person they ever had go through this thing was called Alex Silva. That was his name. He's still with the company right now. I believe he's down in OVW. He's made all of 2 appearances on TNA television, so you can pretty much tell that hiring that guy was completely pointless. Now, I'm not saying that firing him would be the solution to everything, and I don't want to see anyone out of a job, but what I'm saying is that this kid had a sob story that no one really bought. He wasn't all that great in the ring, so I don't see the point in hiring this guy. And I don't believe he was actually scheduled to win that gut check. I think Ric Flair said yes at the last possible moment for some reason, hence why he's no longer with the company. I think that played a factor in it. But nonetheless, that guy made it. The following month, they had Joey Ryan. I was not familiar with him all that much before he came into TNA. I know he's popular on the indie scene. I believe he was with Ring of Honor at one point. He went against Austin Aries in what was a great matchup, highly praised by many members of the IWC and whatnot. And he was turned down. Now, that was turned into a storyline that turned into the whole 87% thing, and then he came back, and he even fought Al Snow for a chance at a contract at TNA Bound for Glory, their biggest show of the year that October. And then he was eventually hired, but they didn't do anything with him. He was featured in the X Division title picture at one point, then the tag team title picture, then he was fed to Joseph Park a couple months ago at Lockdown, and he, I will get to that in a moment, has since been released by TNA. Now, I don't want to go through each month of who they've had hired by this company, or hired by from Gut Check, but they've had Taylor Hendricks, they had Sam Shaw, they had a few other people whose names escape me at the moment. They had Christian York in late last year. They had maybe one person get turned down late last year who was just terrible, and they would have cried had they hired him. But just a number of people got hired by the company that shouldn't have been hired or just weren't ready because they were just never featured on television. I just did not see the point in hiring these people if they weren't going to feature them on television. It was just incredibly pointless. So fast forward to today, July 3rd, 2013, 5 members, or I believe 6 people, 6 or 7 people I think altogether, have since been fired by TNA. Now, Madison Rayne, member of the Knockout roster, her contract expired, and I believe they failed to renew it because they didn't want to. I don't know what the whole deal is with that. And I'm going to miss Madison Rayne. She has since been on maternity leave because she's pregnant at the moment. So that's fine. But Crimson they got rid of, and this isn't really the point of this video, but Crimson was a huge waste to get rid of if they were going to bring him back for one match a few weeks ago, lose to Joseph Park, and brag about his year-long winning streak, disappear from television, come back for one match, lose to Joseph Park, and then get released. That was pointless. But what this video is all about is the fact that they released 4 gut check contestants. 4 gut check contestants. They released Joey Ryan, who they had this whole storyline for last year. They released Taylor Hendricks, Sam Shaw, and Christian York. Now, Sam Shaw, I could care less about. They couldn't care less about, I should say, however you say it. Sam Shaw was incredibly generic in my personal opinion. He looked like a call out of a SmackDown vs. Raw video game. So, I hate to see anyone out of a job, but he is the lesser of everyone in that little talent pool that I'm okay with getting released. I'm fine with that. Again, don't want to see anyone out of a job, but I'm fine with them getting released. But what was the freaking point of hiring these people in the first place if you're just going to fire them? Christian York was a pivotal talent in the X Division. The X Division has been shit for so long. They try to relaunch it every single summer by bringing in new talent. Why don't, instead of letting your talent go, and again, the whole purpose, I believe from what I read on dirt sheets and whatever, the whole purpose of letting all these people go was to cut costs. Now, TNA is not the most financially strong company in the world. I think we all know that, so I guess this makes sense. And they had to get rid of some people, and I guess they might as well get rid of the people that are never on television, never used. But I just don't understand the fact as to why these people were cut or brought in to begin with if they were just going to be fired. Joey Ryan, they had this whole freaking storyline for him last year against Al Snow, of all people. I don't want to say a legend in the wrestling business, but a very well notable name. That they had this whole thing going for him. They had him paired with Matt Morgan at one point in a desperate attempt to get him over with the TNA crowd. They had him fight at Bound for Glory, as I mentioned before, their biggest show of the year. And then you freaking fire the guy for no reason after featuring him in the title picture for maybe 2 months, and then you get rid of him. That just makes no sense to me. Taylor Hendricks, their Knockouts division, can use all the help it can get. At this point in time, it is better than that of WWE's with Caitlyn and AJ. And right now in the Knockouts division, they have Mickie James and Velvet feuding over the Knockouts championship. They have Gail Kim versus Taryn Jarrell in a ladder match coming up this week, I believe, on TNA Impact. That's been a great feud. Their Knockouts division is flourishing with the 4 talents that they have. Tara isn't being used. ODB, I have no idea what they're doing with her at the moment. She's thankfully no longer the tag team champions with Eric Young. That was a freaking disaster. I'm glad that's over with. But I think that's it. As far as their talent pool, I can't exactly remember who else they have as far as knockouts. Brooke Hogan does not count. I don't count Chrissy Hemme or that other chick that they have as an announcer. I don't count them. But getting rid of Madison Rayne, I think, was a joke because she was incredibly talented. One of the longest rating, I think, one of the longest rating. She wasn't the longest rating Knockouts champion in history. No, that was Gail Kim. But even still, she had, she's on maternity leave at the moment. I don't know. Can you release someone if they're on maternity leave? I'm not sure. I don't know if they released her. The contract expired. I don't know if you can do that, but whatever. This video is about TNA Gut Check. So Taylor Hendricks, she wasn't the greatest in-ring talent, but when she had her match a few weeks ago on TNA Impact against Mickie James, the Knockouts champion, she had an impressive showing against the champ. She's been around for a year now. She's had minimal appearances on television. Very, very beautiful young lady. She seemed to have improved in the ring since the last time we saw her. So the fact they got rid of her is just mind-boggling to me. And again, this whole thing, overall, it's just absolutely asinine that they would get rid of these 4 Gut Check contestants. That's only as of now, as I'm making this video. They could be releasing other guys. And then they're going back to Alex Silva here for a second. The guy that was first hired by TNA Wrestling had the least amount of appearances out of everybody that I'm about to discuss, that I've discussed thus far. He hasn't been on television at all, yet you keep him around. Maybe he's a great talent. I don't know. I don't watch OVW. I don't know anything about developmental territories. I have no idea. So maybe he's a great talent. I don't know. But from what I saw on TNA television, he is the lesser out of everybody except for Sam Shaw. So why not get rid of that guy out of Christian York? This guy worked his ass off on the indie scene for a decade straight to get hired by TNA Wrestling. I just don't understand why they got rid of him. Joey Ryan, I wasn't a huge fan of him, but he was a good talent in the ring. He was entertaining. He was a nice comedy act. So you keep him around. He could have played like the counterpart to Eric Young, sort of. I don't know, but you could have kept him around and done something with him. Why build this guy up to amount to nothing? And then Taylor Hendricks, as I said before, they could have used more women's talent as well. But this all just goes down to the fact that Gut Check hasn't been taken seriously in a long time. Nowadays, they have people go against one another, and they have two indie guys go against one another instead of the indie guy against the wrestler, because they never had the indie guy go over. They always had the wrestler go over, and the only case that the indie guy went over was Wes Briscoe. Wes fucking Briscoe, the same guy, the worst member of Aces and Eights and one of the worst wrestlers on the fucking roster, and you keep him around on the roster while you release these 4 pretty good talents. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like I mentioned before, TNA is trying to cut costs. Why not, instead of wasting your money on the Hogans, Hulk Hogan and Brooke Hogan respectively, why don't you pay money to the future of TNA Wrestling, what they dubbed the future of TNA Wrestling in Gut Check? How am I supposed to take TNA Gut Check seriously going forward? And that's not even counting the people that they let go out of this competition that should have been hired. Evelise from Tough Enough, she should have been hired. She was not let through. That the Iva, whoever faced her, I don't know if she was hired. I think she was. She hasn't been seen on TV since. I was not a huge fan of hers. She looked like Tamina in TNA form. I don't know why she's still around. That other guy from Ring of Honor, I'm not sure who it was, but he was a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was the last TNA Gut Check or the one before that. I don't know, but I can't remember his name. But he was a great talent. He was a bald guy, but he was not let through, I don't think. So the fact they let that guy go, that didn't make any sense to me. But they're just all a mess in TNA right now. I mean, there's a lot of things going. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a TNA hater. I watch it on a weekly basis. I enjoy it most of the time. I just don't understand why you're releasing the future of your company, yet you keep around guys like Sting, guys like Hogan, guys like Brooke Hogan, or people like Brooke Hogan, she's not a guy, as far as we know. But even still, I mean, I understand those guys are draws, and they're not doing their company many favors anyway. I mean, Kurt Angle's a great talent. He's a great in-ring wrestler, so I understand keeping him around. But Sting hasn't done shit for the company in years, so why bother keeping him around? Hulk Hogan is another prime example. They took a step in the right direction by getting rid of someone like Vince Russo on the creative team, or someone like Ric Flair, who was taking up millions of dollars out of TNA's financial department. He was serving no purpose in TNA whatsoever. Again, love Ric Flair, just served no purpose in TNA all the time that he was there. But why don't you get rid of those kind of talents instead of getting rid of the future of the company in TNA Gut Check? Now, last week they had TNA Gut Check with the Big O and Ryan Howe from Tough Enough, aka Skid Marks, or the guy that was called Skid Marks by Stone Cold. Why the fuck do you have that guy compete for TNA Gut Check and not someone like AJ Kirsch, who was also on Tough Enough, who appeared on Larry King last week, a great talent. He was one of the finalists in Tough Enough. You let someone like Ryan Howe compete in Tough Enough? I mean, I'll bet he lost the match. I understand that, and Big O won. I'd rather see Big O get hired. And he's good in the ring. He's popular from Zack Ryder's Z True the web show that he did for the longest time. He was on there, so he's popular. He was getting chanted and whatever during his match with Ryan Howe. But I can't take this fucking concept seriously if they're just going to fire everyone who gets through and gets a contract. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you get it, okay. But even still, I just can't take it seriously. If Big O gets hired, good for him, but I'm just going to be waiting until the day he gets released. Because if they released 4, not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 people from TNA Gut Check in the last year, I have absolutely no faith in the future of the TNA roster, for one thing. I mean, they have a lot of great talent. They have Bobby Roode. They have James Storm. They have Magnus, who I'm a huge fan of. And those guys are the future of the industry. But what's the point of TNA Gut Check if you're just going to fire these people after hiring them? Again, makes no sense to me, but hopefully they don't release any more Gut Check people going forward, or release any more people going forward. Because like I said before, I hate to see anyone out of a job, especially these talented individuals. Crimson and Madison Rayne are a whole other story, but I kind of briefly discussed them before that they should not have been fired either. Both talented individuals. Madison Rayne was a key asset to the Knockouts division before she left on maternity leave earlier this year. Crimson, no point in bringing him back for one fucking match if they were just going to release him. But again, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the situation. Make sure to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate it. Make sure to continue the conversation on Twitter at @CM_us_GSM. Thanks for watching again, and this is GSM signing out. Till next time, guys.